Well, hello everybody. How are we today? I'm just collecting my stuffed animals for our vacation Bible school that's going on this weekend. We're having a one-day vacation Bible school called Pets on the Loose, and they need some stuffed animals to go along because I don't think we can have a giraffe and a bear and an eagle and all those other stuff. That's what I have. Here's my eagle. I'm just going to let our church borrow them for that day. And while I was going through collecting and stuff like that, I came across some different things that it made me think of a childhood memory. And I thought, okay, Lord, I want to, help me to share a story with these kids. But when I was 4 was the first time, and I found my thermometer. This is a modern day one. The first time I was in the hospital that I remember being in the hospital was 4. And the only reason it was memorable is because the nurse was awesome. And she said, oh, look, we got new technology. We don't have to use the mercury ones. The mercury ones were really bad, by the way. But this one would come off the wall and they put it in my mouth, like this with a special thing. And it was like this one's plastic too, but this is the cover for, this is what you'd put in the modern day ones. I'd put this one in there. All right. Like that, but if it's in their mouth, you're not supposed to talk, right? And then it would beep, and I have a good temperature, 96.3. So, but with a new one, she'd come along and it would make a noise, and I just enjoyed it. And every time she took my temperature, she'd let me go beep, and that was awesome. But after a while, I probably had 2 or 3 visits because Dr. Brownholder told my parents that she's going to have surgery because they tried me walking with the crutches, the metal crutches that it would come up and hook onto my bicep here and then hang onto it and try to walk. But because I was too unsteady and I would fall over, and they said that she's too spastic in her legs. She needs to have the tendons loosened. So I had my first surgery at 8 years old. That was a little scary. I remember the surgery because the mask came down, and if I smell that I can still smell it today, I would come out of surgery and I would throw up, be really sick. I mean, and if I smell it to this day, it makes my stomach upset. And when he had the surgery, when I had my surgery, I'm trying to find a smaller animal here. When I had the surgery, they took my legs and they put a bar. I'm using the pen as an example, but they put a metal bar over the cast and had my legs like this. And my surgery, where they cut the tendons here, right up here by my groin, and so I was in a cast like this, so my legs wouldn't be apart. I'm not doing a very good job at showing you. But anyway, I had the cast. I couldn't walk. Couldn't even sit up unless mommy or daddy helped me sit up. And when I came home from the surgery, when it was time for me to got out of the hospital and come home, my daddy, they had to lay me on the Suburban, and I laid in the back of the Suburban, and then they pulled me in, and because the only way, because they couldn't carry me in the house like this, and I was too wide with the brace, my cast on, and they couldn't move my legs at all. So you know what my daddy had to do? Let's see if I have some. Before he did, my mama took a towel and covered me up, because what happens when you go upside down? All your clothes go burp. So mama put a towel down there, so because I couldn't wear underwear at the time. So he carried me in and like this, and my head hit the door, but that was an accident. I know my daddy didn't mean it. And then they put me on the couch bed that they had made up for me in the basement because they couldn't carry me up and down the stairs that way. So I had a special bed there. And we were remodeling the house at the time. And back in that in the mid 70s, this special device came out for stereos called an 8-track player. And an 8-track was a precursor to the cassette player, and the cassette was a precursor to the CD player. And now we don't even use any of that, or and it was because it was the record, an LP record, and then you would have you went from a 78 to a 45 record, which was the smaller. You had the big record, then the smaller record, and then the 8-track player, and all that good stuff came out. Well, when that 8-track player came out, Barry Manilow he's still famous, and he's still, as far as I know, he's still alive. But he had Coca Gavana and Mandy, and there was probably, I want to say 10, maybe 12 songs on this 8-track tape. And when I'd be laying there, and everybody at night would go upstairs, because it was the basement, the main floor, and then the second story, which was where the bedrooms were. And because I couldn't go up and down the stairs, and they didn't want to have to carry me up and down there, I had to stay in the basement. And they'd help me go potty and everything, because I'd do a bedpan because I couldn't get up off the thing. And my daddy would move me a little bit here, and then my mama would move me this way, and just so I wasn't staying stationary, and then they'd pick me up and stuff. And my grandma came to visit one time. And she's like, why is she not in her dress? Because my mom's like, she won't let me take, because my grandma made me a nightgown that was like basically a big man's shirt that would just barely covered me, because, obviously I was in the braces, the cast, and you couldn't wash my legs and stuff because of the cast being on there. And so my grandma made me a special shirt that would cover me, and it had a pocket on it. And to this day, I still love pockets. And she would get so fussy at my mother for not changing and she goes, she won't let me change it. And my grandmother thought, yeah, I disagree. But you know what she made me? She made me another one so that my mom could change me from one to the other. And she put more pockets on the second one. But at nighttime, they would go upstairs. And whether I'd have, be by myself. When we had, like I said before in the previous videos, we had lots of cats and dogs. And they would come in and see where the bookshelf is right there. Pretend that's a rat, that the books aren't there. And the cat would go. And one night, I saw this really skinny tail. And it wasn't the cat. It was a mouse. Or a rat. And I'm like, I'm seeing that thing, and I'm looking, and I'm like, I'm just laying there and looking at it and going, oh, it's gonna, I don't want it to fall on me, and I don't want it to eat me, and all that. And all of a sudden, from like over here, and it was coming like if that shelf was the thing, and I saw the big fluffy tail, and I knew it was our kitty cat, our mama cat. And she was scraping and scraping and scraping. And next thing I know, she took out Mr. Rat for supper. And I was like, oh! And the next morning, I must have told my sister. And I said, Sissy, Mama cat ate a rat. I don't want it to do it again. Oh! And you know what she did? She turned down the radio. After they went to bed, she crept down off the flights of stairs, came down. She turned on the stereo and pushed in the 8-track tape of Barry Manilow. And I would listen to Mandy and Coca Gavana and all the other ones. And they're flying out of my brain. But if I heard a couple beats, I could probably tell you what song it was. But it's been a long time since I've heard it. But anyway, every night. And then the next morning, my mom would come down and she'd be like, why in the world is the stereo on? And she knew I couldn't get up and move. And couple nights later, and she'd come down the next day, it would still be on, because every night after that, my sister would come down and put the thing on. Well, she'd tell the kids, I turned that, and she wasn't saying it to us kids, but she'd say, to my dad, she'd say, Jack, I tell these kids to, I'm telling you, these kids are, leave the radio alone. And he'd be like, honey, I didn't leave the radio on. I'm telling you, I turned it off. Well, she couldn't figure out because she didn't think that my siblings were able to turn it on and plug it back. So one night she unplugged it, turned it all off. And she said, there, I know nobody can mess with it because the kids aren't, And again, my sister came down, plugged in the stereo, turned it on, pushed in the Barry Manilow 8-track tape. And next morning, my mother came down and she's like, okay, this is it. I got to figure out. But, if she would have asked me, I would have said, Sissy did it for me. It was coming down because she was putting the kids all to bed and, before they went to bed. She figured everybody was up there. She didn't realize that because my sister and I, before my surgery, would share a room. And that Sissy would come down and do that for me. So one night, she told my dad, she said, Jack, I'm going to stay up because I put the kids to bed. And she went in and she hid in the bathroom. Sure enough, my sister walked out and she didn't stop my sister. She figured out, what in the world is she doing? She sat there, watched her go down the stairs, go down, turn the radio on, come over, turn the radio on, push in Barry Manilow, come over, give me a kiss goodnight, tucked me in, waddled up the stairs and went to bed. And after that, Mom's like, oh, I bet Kathy's afraid. And after that, she would tell everybody to go to bed, and she never turned the radio off. And the other one that she would play would be the Steve Miller Band. Those are the two. I'm sure that they had more 8-track tapes than the Steve Miller Band and Barry Manilow, but hopefully someday I'll get to meet Barry Manilow before it's a day late, dollar short kind of thing. And I have another story about that, but I'll share that one for later. Okay, maybe next week. If you want to hear the continuation of the Barry Manilow story, leave a comment and say, I want to hear about Barry. Want to hear about Barry. All right? And just know, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, we're not alone. God uses people to help us, like he used my sister to keep me from hearing the different noises of the night. Take care of yourself, and God bless. And if you like the story, give me a like and a subscribe, okay? Thanks. Take care. God bless. And know I'm praying for you too. Bye-bye.